Hi, Ashley. Welcome. Ooh, Christine from Denmark. North Carolina. We've got people from all over. School of Education in Michigan, Texas. A couple of us from Virginia and Maryland, California. Welcome everybody to the webinar. Everybody's loading up. We still have a few minutes. So welcome, welcome. We have two wonderful speakers today. I'm really excited. Yay, Arizona Association for Environmental Ed is represented. We have Lincoln, Nebraska. Hello, everybody. Canada, welcome. Two from Canada. And my home state of Ohio, hooray. We still have a few minutes. We'll be starting shortly. Let us know where you're from in the chat. And I hope everybody can see the screen. Welcome everybody to the webinar. We'll be starting in another minute or so. Happy you could all be here. We have Portland, Oregon, and Nevada, in Las Vegas. And we have Katie from Colombia. Welcome. All over the place. Well, this is such an important topic, so we are really excited by today's webinar. Scranton, Pennsylvania, an after-school STEM program. Excellent. Okay, 30 seconds or so, we'll get started. Welcome, welcome. And yay, we have Maine. So with Maine on board, we're going to get started. And hello, everybody. My name is Judy Browse, and I'm the Executive Director of the North American Association for Environmental Education. And I want to welcome you, everybody, to the webinar today. We do have a really exciting lineup, and we are going to be talking about the circular economy and creating the world that we want. And we are really excited that we have two wonderful guests who will be helping us think about the circular economy and what that means for us as educators, new ways of thinking about waste and renewal, and how we can think about the circular economy as a way to address a number of the social and environmental issues that we face, as well as such a great tool for STEM learning, environmental education, all of that. And as I mentioned, we have two wonderful speakers, Bill Prescott and Pramod Sharma, who will be talking today. Bill's going to kick it off and then Pramod. And we're really happy to be able to dig into this topic. And many of you have suggested this as we asked you, what would you like to hear about on these webinars? So for those of you new to NAAE webinars, we have been doing 2 to 3 to 4 webinars a month since the pandemic hit, trying to bring new insights to our field, new ideas, and also thinking about how can we as a field not only learn more, but address the issue of the pandemic and the impact that is having on our educational systems, how we are centering equity in everything that we do, and how we can help build a better narrative for the future, and what does that look like. So we hope that these are getting us all to think in different ways. I want to thank my colleague, Anne, for all that she does to run the webinar program. Thank you, Anne. And please contact any of us as the panelists in the chat room if you need help, but especially Anne, because she can really help you more than some of us. And I want to thank all our affiliate co-hosts. We have a number of our affiliates on the line, and we have 56 state, regional, and provincial affiliates across North America that are doing such great work to advance environmental education and civic engagement. And I encourage you to get involved with your state or provincial or regional affiliate. And I just want to quickly say welcome to Zoom. I know everybody is on different platforms, and we want to make sure you know how to use this platform. The best way to communicate is with the chat. So you can either send a message to all panelists, or you can send a message to everyone. And the panelists are the ones you see on the screen. Everybody else is muted, and the videos are shut down because we have so many people online. Please enter any questions you have or resources. As Pramod and Bill are talking, you might know of resources or curricula, and you'll get a copy of the PowerPoint, the recording, and the chat. So you'll get everything as well. But please feel free to enter into the chat as we go forward. This session is 1 hour and 15 minutes. And Katie, I want to thank you. We are live captioning today if anyone needs help with the audio. You'll also need your phone when Pramod is talking. So just as a heads up, grab your phone. And if you go to the website menti.com, enter the code 867093 and hit submit, you'll be entered into the website where you're going to be able to enter comments and vote and do all kinds of fun things. So it's very easy. Menti.com 867093, and Pramod will talk more about that. And then I also want to thank my colleague Melissa, who's the director of our international programs and our managing director at NAAE, for all that she's done in trying to facilitate a discussion about the circular economy so we can all learn more. And she'll be introducing Pramod in just a minute. So with that, it's time for the meat of the program, and I'm going to introduce Bill, and Bill's going to kick it off, and then we'll hear from Pramod. So hold on for just a second. So in terms of introducing Bill, I'm going to use a few notes. Really excited to introduce Bill. He's someone that you really want on your team, no matter what you're doing. He's been a leader in innovation and sustainable development for more than 3 decades, and his focus is on the circular economy, which is very appropriate for this webinar today. He likes to say that he's a lifelong intra and entrepreneur and has worked with startups, corporations, investors, governments, NGOs, all to create new sustainable enterprises. He's led 3 Bay Area startups in the domains of e-learning, clean tech, and complex system simulation. He serves as a senior fellow at the U.S. Council on Competitiveness. He's a member of the University of Washington Advisory Board. He's been really active with Princeton, and he's an advisor to a lot of different clients through his firm, Brain Oxygen, which is a great name. He's lived all over the world, received a number of awards. He speaks 4 languages, plus he's working on 4 more. He's passionate about K through 12 education, and he's authored a picture book on climate change for young children. You'll see he has a lot of energy and passion for the circular economy and so many other issues. And we're so happy, Bill, you could be with us today to share what you know. So let's give him a very warm virtual applause.
Wow, thank you so much, Judy. It's very kind. I'm feeling a little verklempt, a very, very touching introduction. So, and then Pramod's gonna, I think, drive our combined slides. As Judy mentioned, we're using a really fun way to interact with us with the Mentimeter. And as we get set up with that, I want to tell you a couple of quick stories about how I've gotten into the circular economy. So I tend to be the person who is long in the tooth in the room, being in this space for over 35 years. So I have lots of great war stories. And the circular economy is a relatively new term for something that we have been doing arguably for millennia. And I'm hoping that one of your big takeaways at the end of this session today is that in a very literal and metaphorical sense, the circular economy is the natural state of being. This is how nature works. This is how humanity has functioned for most of our history. And I would argue that just our recent history and how we manage our economy and activities is an aberration or a detour from how we've operated for a very long time. And many people on the planet, most people on the planet, in fact, do operate in a more circular way than people in industrialized countries. So one of the stories I wanted to share with you is back in the late 80s, I was doing consulting and one of my clients was a large oil company, and they had a product which is motor oil. And as I tell my story, you can actually do your work and sign in the Mentimeter. So if you go to the menti.com and put in the code 867093, then you'll be able to do fun stuff and do the responses that you love what's going on right now. You agree with it. The little cat is supposed to say, going too fast, so slow your roll, Bill. And you can even disagree. Feedback of any kind is appreciated. So as you guys get into that, I'll tell my stories. So this company, big oil company, one of its product lines is motor oil. And we just passed in the United States all kinds of laws around industrial waste, including used motor oil. And they're saying, oh my goodness, our life is now really complicated. Our clients are upset because now they have to comply with all these new regulations, and it's expensive, it's a hassle. So can you kind of help us figure out how to deal with this? And their mentality was like, oh, now we have to figure a way for new technology to treat this stuff and dispose of it, maybe burn it. And that's just a lot of extra expense and hassle. And so we actually started, from the very beginning and said, well, why are you selling motor oil? Let's ask the really dumb questions. Like, well, they wanted to run motors. Those motors need to be lubricated to run well. And so our question was, well, that's great. So you're actually selling lubrication services. And they go, well, I guess you're right. And we probed, do your customers actually want to own motor oil? Is there something intrinsically good in being the owner of motor oil? It's like, no, they're not necessarily thrilled about being an owner of n number of quarts of motor oil. And they're even less thrilled, as it turns out, to be the owners of used motor oil. And sadly, in the past, they would just, get rid of it somehow, put it in the landfill, pour it down the drain. It disappeared at a low cost, creating, as many of you know, in economic terms, externalities. So the environment was basically subsidizing those practices. So we said, hey, since you're actually selling the services of lubrication and so forth, why don't you make that your value proposition and say, hey, my customers don't own that motor oil. We, the supplier, own that motor oil. So after you have used it, you must return it to us because we are the owners. And people were ecstatic. So customers thought this is the best thing ever because you're taking a huge hassle out of our hands. This is a big cost savings for us as a customer. And the really cool thing is that the oil company was like, guess what? It doesn't really cost that much to clean up that oil and basically put it back into a new product. So with just rethinking the nature of their business, going from, oh, we sell a product, we sell a commodity to, no, we're selling a service. They super pleased the customers. They reduced the cost for everybody, including themselves, because it was much cheaper to get, quote unquote, basically free dirty oil that required little investment to filter it up, upgrade it, and have it as a new product. So that was like, hey, this is kind of a no-brainer, right? So that's one of my early experiences with this kind of circular thinking. So thanks for using your Mentimeter. And now we want to get your input with words. So you can just use your phone to say, okay, when you hear circular economy, what comes to mind? Now I'll throw in a word. So we have like recycling, closed loop, great. So I'll throw in a little word here too. Sustainable. Yeah, that's right on the mark. So that this is a great word cloud. We have some other words related to sustainability there. And I like, there's better, and there's some issues up there that's coming up here like plastics. It really is, I think, in my view, is about sustainability. And that's why we have this really big title to our webinar today. It's like, creating the world we want. So it's not just about some specific environmental issue of like, oh, plastics packaging recycling, how are we going to deal with that? Although that's part of what we'll talk about today, and that's part of a circular economy approach. It's really about taking the big step back and saying, hey, what is this world we want? And what's the right way of doing things? So here's a quick outline of what I want to talk about today. So in a very American parlance, I want to get to duh. I want you to feel like after you discover circular economy, it's like, yeah, obviously that's how we should be running things. And everything that we were going to be doing for the next couple of years in circular economy, I want our grandchildren when they're teenagers to look at us like, duh, why were you so, non-clever for such a long period of time? Because this is obvious that this is how things should have been all along. So this is why I have the first part of like, hey, getting to duh. How do we think big and ask why? How did we get here? How did we get into this world? And it's really a great application of design thinking and systems thinking. And this is where I think it can really plug in nicely into your educational goals of how do you create critical thinkers in your students? How do you foment that? How do you develop that? And even get into, as my little bullet says here, the meaning of life. How does how we run the planet affect our lives and how we get meaning from our lives? Then I want to talk about, well, gosh, what's a nice planet like this doing in a mess that we have now? And so how do we get in this mess? And then different ways to frame the circular economy. And then I'll hand it over to Pramod to talk about very specific ideas on how do we incorporate this into educational curriculum. So getting to so I told you my motor oil story. Another common experience we have in the industrialized world is we have what I call accidental technology museums. So we've got, here are some of my phones. I have an embarrassingly number much larger than this. And guess what? They actually work. And all of the features that I love this phone for 20 years ago still work. It's a great phone. But every time a new technology comes out or whatever, I need to use Mentimeter for this webinar. I need a smartphone. So I have this accumulation of apparatuses, and I call this my technology museum. But it's not intentional, and that's again because how the world works is like, hey, technology is changing all the time. You need to have the latest platform. So that's not a very circular way to do that. So we'll talk a little bit about how could this be more circular. Then I wanted to mention my grandmother. So she was formed, like everyone in her generation, by the Great Depression. and she did not throw away anything. She had all kinds of plastic containers where she brought her Cool Whip, which may not be the most healthy thing. And after we had it on our dessert, she cleaned it out very carefully and used it as storage containers. And they only left her house when she would give people food to take home. As it turns out, most of my life has spent overseas and mainly emerging economies. And it's like all these people, the vast majority of people on this planet have the same mentality as my grandmother. It's like, hey, there's stuff that's still good in this device. Let's repair it. Let's not just toss it out. Whereas in industrialized economies like the United States, it's like, hey, a little thing isn't working. Let's throw it out. And that's why you have even, like I was living in India, got married in India, and you have, vendors coming around to your house where you have, just like in older days in Europe, you have like a tinker come by and say, oh, you have a pot that has a hole in it. So, well, I'll repair that hole because only 1% of the pot is wrong, has a problem. So let's just fix that 1%, which is impeding its usefulness, and you're back in business. So you keep things in play. So this is how humankind has survived literally for millennia, and how most people on the planet survive. They have resource scarcity, and they also are a lot more clever than a lot of people emerging in industrial countries, because they're thinking about how to solve problems every single day using the limited resources they have at hand. So these are all different aspects of you can think about the circular economy in our lives. And so the quick questions we'll be addressing right now is, well, if this is all making such common sense, why are we not doing it? And how do we get off track? So if we go to the next slide, I'll talk about how the industrialized economies are, and I'll contrast this to the circular economy by using the term linear economy, where you take resources generally from the earth, you make something out of it, they're used, and then they are tossed, they are disposed. So it just goes in one line, and that's why we have to say it's a linear economy. And in each step of this process, as you'll note here, is that there's a huge amount of waste that is being created. So as we are doing mining, I've done a lot of work in all of the natural resource sectors, and in mining, you look at what percent of the material that you mine actually goes into a product that you can sell versus the overburden or the escoria, as we say in Spanish, the part that doesn't become part of the product. It's only a very small percent of what you're digging out of the ground that actually makes it into the world of commerce. So a huge amount of material waste and energy waste there in our manufacturing processes. Even though we try to make them as efficient as possible, there's a lot of waste there. Then, of course, as we know, as consumers, especially in industrialized economies, there's a lot of waste in how we go about our daily life. So this is the linear economy. And the question is, how did we get there? And I have the next slide is my hand-waving economics. So don't take these to an economist and say, can you explain this to me? Because this is a kind of a Bill concept here. So my take is that our economy as it is right now is based on getting the average cost of goods as low as possible. And how do we get there? Economies of scale. So the more products we make and the bigger the factories we have and the bigger the refineries we have, the lower the unit cost is. So plastics, this miracle material, is so cheap and has such amazing performance because of these great economies of scale. So the unit price for those plastics is very low. And then you say over time, with technology improvements, we take those curves of decreasing average cost with greater quantities, we push that down, so we're getting lower and lower costs all the time. This is the world we live in now, basically. This is why we have huge mines, we have huge refineries, we have huge manufacturing facilities, and those are kind of shifted to lower cost labor markets in the world. So that's why, so much that we consume today is made in China. Most of our devices, most of that is made in China, oftentimes designed and invented, and intellectual property may be in the United States or Europe, but the actual manufacturing is in China because of those economies of scale. And this doesn't take into account the true costs, though. So these average costs don't take into account the cost to people's lives, to the quality of their life, to the quality of the environment. So this is the game that we've been playing, and we're really good at it. Actually, if you can just go back to the prior slide. Thanks. So we're really good at decreasing the cost. And the graph I have, the conceptual graph next to it, is like, what you probably really should be doing is reduce the average cost of value, and value you can think of as experience. So that thing that you want, let's say like the motor oil story, did you want a low cost of motor oil, or did you want to have a low cost of maintaining your engine? And it's probably the value of the oil, not the oil itself. And so if we kind of reframe things and focus on value and experience, then that kind of automatically shifts us into a circular economy way of thinking, and to more of a design and systems thinking mentality. And how do we get here? This is what I have at the bottom of the slide, is that I think sometimes we forgot to ask the basic questions, like, what's the meaning of life? Is it about all this stuff, or is it about the experiences that the stuff enables? And so, in fact, one of the pitches I made to a retailer was called "Enough with the Stuff," and saying, you as a retailer can actually make more money and reduce global costs by going to a leasing or renting model versus a sales model, which is kind of a mind-blown moment for them. So to go a little further into how do we structure our thinking about circular economy, one vision is to say, hey, this is a big idea. How do we decouple quality of life and the consumption of materials? How can we improve our life experiences? How can we improve our quality of life without increasing our use of materials and energy? And again, thinking in the linear way, it's like, what? That is not possible. Of course, quality of life means like more stuff. And those are linked inextricably together. But if you kind of go back to a design thinking way, it's like, no, actually, it's again about the life experiences, and there's a huge opportunity to decouple that, and we're talking about some of the ways why. So I think, again, this is a great way to have your students be critical thinkers and always ask why. Why do we have this current world? Is this the world we want? How do we redesign it? And there are questions here. So the number of questions are like, do you really need that? This is the typical parent question to your kid. Like, do you really need that new device? Or are you just want the service of that? I had a .com in Silicon Valley back in the day, and I had to buy my own servers and support them. And then we went to a rental model, which is an improvement, but I still had to maintain the software and everything. And now we have totally virtualized that computational service by the cloud. And this is the cloud is like the perfect example of circular economy, where instead of selling stuff, servers and components and software, we're selling the service of the hardware and the software. And that's all what people really wanted. And I would have loved to have just, cloud options, back in the day. It would have saved me a lot of hassle. So if you can virtualize things, that's great. Like newspapers. Do you really need the paper, or do you need the news? Do you want to have like a whole stack of newspapers in your house? Probably not. And then where we'll get a little touchy, especially with all you educators out there, is like books. Do you really need the books? In some cases, you can say, yeah, I do like to have the book. But in the vast majority of the cases, it's like, hey, maybe not. I'm actually interested in the information, not so much, the form factor of that book. So virtualization is always a good question to ask. It's not going to be the solution all the time, and it's not going to be the solution for everybody. And that's okay. That's great. That's part of design thinking. The second one is like, hey, if you actually really need something, do you need to own it? So my technology museum is like, you own it. Like, we don't want to see that stuff ever again. Actually, now I am leasing my phones. So whenever a new phone comes out, I just get the new phone and I just pay for the service of this platform. And that's what I want. And I'm happier. Less things in my technology museum. And it's this question of like, whatever you're doing, can you do it as a service rather than a good? And the funny thing is that this is how the world existed in the past, and that we actually went through a productization mode in, I'd say, the last 150 years, of saying things that were a service in the past, let's sell them as a product. And that's how we can, make money, and we can understand things, and again, in a very linear way. And the third part is like, hey, is there something we can do where we can actually make a positive contribution to capital, where we can replenish nature rather than just extracting things from it? So we have this very simple diagram here of saying, hey, what does a circular economy mean? It's like taking waste out in the beginning through design. It's keeping products and service and keeping value in play. And it's like, hey, how can we contribute to natural systems? And if you take that simple concept and combine it with a bunch of consultants, you get our next slide, which is from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, which is a great source, by the way. So Ellen MacArthur is a leading light on circular economy, working with great other companies like McKinsey, very much focused on European Union, but going now worldwide. And so you have a little more complicated diagram here. And I'll just kind of break it down for you and simplify some of the takeaways that I think are worthwhile here. The green is the biological system, think food and like food waste and composting. And the blue are the stuff. It's all, and they call it technical components. So like non-organic stuff that won't compost. And the realization is where we are right now when people think about circular economy, and this showed up a little bit in our word cloud, is that it's like, oh yeah, that's recycling. I call that inelegant circular economy. And that's why I've done a lot of work in recycling, work with the largest recycler in the world. And that basically doesn't question our world. It's just, hey, let's just take the world as it is, linear economy, whatever, and let's just do the best we can and try to recover as much material and energy at the end of that process. But we're not going to question anything. And then the next circle in is like refurbishing and remanufacturing. Everyone's familiar with that. My thing doesn't work. I just bought it, send it back. It gets fixed and it gets sold at a lower price because it's refurbished. Hey, that's cool. We didn't throw it away. That's positive. But again, we're not really questioning how we designed that product and what the service is in the beginning. So as we get closer and closer to the user there, the value that we're capturing by having a circular economy increases dramatically. It's a lot more efficient. It's getting right to the heart of the matter. And this whole system at the bottom is also supplied by renewable energy, so we're not using extractive resources on the energy side either. So that's the Ellen MacArthur butterfly diagram.
Yeah, and Bill, we've had a couple of questions come in. This is great. And just wondered, Roberta said, why would you make a product meant to be used by a consumer for only a very short period of time out of materials that persist for millennia? And then Tony talked about planned obsolescence. So there's been a lot of dialogue in the chat about not only what people are doing, but also the fact when you return your phone, somebody's got to do something with it again, and how all this works. So
yes, so great question. So it's like the plastics question of like, hey, you know, the life of plastic packaging in particular is very short. It's just for me. And yet we did such a great job. I'm also a chemical engineer undergraduate. We did such a great job in designing the plastic. It's going to last, you know, forever. So that's a great question. It's like, well, there's something wrong there, and there is something wrong. So we need to, again, figure out how to close the loop. What is that packaging, you know, trying to do? Are there other ways to create that function? And then planned obsolescence, again, is kind of, there could be a positive aspect of that, like here in the cafeteria. So food, planned obsolescence, like, yeah, it goes bad. How can we make a positive thing out of that? How can we compost that, turn it into a positive thing, versus have it just create methane in a landfill? But in terms of products, that's another issue we can kind of get into maybe in the question part of it. I think we just probably move to my last slide here before I hand it over to Pramod, of some of the benefits of this thinking. And so if we just see the last slide, the cool thing is that the circular economy is categorically superior to the linear economy. So not only are we doing like good environmental things, reduced impact, in fact, we get halfway to the Paris goals just, you know, with circular economy. So we're reducing energy use and carbon dioxide and global warming. Hooray. But more than that, we're being economically stupid by not doing the circular economy because of the higher cost of the linear economy. So just in Western Europe, we would save about $2 billion a year if we had a circular economy model. So the last question is, what's not to like, right? That's a rhetorical question because categorically superior. But we can go into some of the benefits and some of the implications that are not necessarily positive of the circular economy in the question and answers. So with that, I'd like to hand it over to Pramod.
thank you, Bill. That was great. And Melissa, do you want to give an introduction to Pramod before he starts?
Sure. So I'm very, very pleased to introduce Dr. Pramod Sharma. Pramod is the Senior Education Director at the Foundation for Environmental Education, which is an international NGO based in Copenhagen, Denmark. Pramod has 20 years of experience working with environmental education and education for sustainable development. And prior to his role at the Foundation for Environmental Education, which is also known as FEE, he was the program director at the Center for Environmental Education based in Ahmedabad, India. In his current position, Pramod directs the internationally renowned Eco Schools program, which is now based in 68 countries, reaching 59,000 schools around the world. It is the largest global sustainable schools program. And if that wasn't enough to keep him busy, Pramod also directs the Young Reporters for the Environment program, which provides young people with opportunities to research environmental issues using investigative journalism. And finally, Pramod directs the Learning About Forest program, which helps to connect young people to the natural world and to forest ecosystems. Pramod has served as an advisor to the Global Environmental Education Partnership, and I've had the pleasure of getting to know him while he was a fellow at the NAAEE offices. And during that time, he helped us research and enhance our international work. And we're really excited to hear more about a new pilot project he's working on at FEE in the Eco Schools program, all about integrating circular economy concepts. He's a wonderful colleague and thought leader and a great collaborator, and I'm just really happy to have him here today. So take it away, Pramod.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you for that introduction. And it's a pleasure to be able to share our work here with the audience, which is global. So I'll be talking about the Eco School, which is a project advancing circular economy, and the acronym we call it eSpace. And it is supported by Lookout Professional, which also is one of the 100 companies working with Ellen MacArthur Foundation to bring in circular economy concepts in their production and of basically hygiene paper. So as Melissa mentioned, Foundation for Environmental Education is a member-based organization with its headquarters in Copenhagen. And we have around 79 countries and 100 members globally who run our 5 programs. 3 programs Melissa mentioned, Eco School, which is called an Eco Campus program at the tertiary education level, learning about forests and young reporter for the environment. But we also run 2 other labels, Blue Flag, which certifies the quality of beaches in terms of environmental sustainability and also safety. And the Green Key works with the hospitality industry and certifying the establishment for their sustainability work through the Green Key label. We work globally and have around 59,000 schools, which engages 19.6 million students and 1.4 million teachers. And closer to North America, we have 3 members. Eco Schools Canada runs the program in Canada, NWF runs the program in USA, and Eco Schools Mexico implements the program, Eco School program in Mexico. The program is from the beginning, which is a 25-year-old program, and from the beginning focus on project-based learning. And the 7 steps define an eco school. And this is the process every eco school runs to implement the theme and educate the children. It starts with children coming together to form an eco committee. They do an audit of the school and different environmental themes, then work on the teachers parallelly work on how those environmental themes can be linked to curriculum and also brought into classroom teaching and learning. Based on the environmental review and curriculum linkages, an environmental plan is made for that year, an action plan which has both the objectives to achieve educational objectives and environmental objectives. And then they implement the project and along with all the staff and members in the school's community. And the eco committee basically monitors and evaluate. The other important stuff in the 7-step process is that after every step, there is an inform and involved activity. But at the end of the project, they involve stakeholders and make presentation to the different communities that are associated. The most important one is the parent. And all the learning of the year is synthesized as an eco code that keeps on evolving year after year. And this cycle then, as a developing cycle, is plan, do, check, continues every year in an eco school. And this project also uses lesson plans aligned with the 7 steps. This is also aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals, also called the Agenda, which the United Nations agreed upon as the global targets in 2015. There are 17 SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, starting with poverty and ending with the 17th one is related to partnerships. And each SDG has a set of targets to achieve within that goal. So what we are focusing as part of the program, eSpace program, is positive action that can be taken towards sustainable development. And we use a symbol which was invented and basically identified by Center for Environment Education in India, and it is in Creative Commons, anybody can use it. And opposite to footprint, it is looking at hope and positive side of what we can do instead of the impact that we have created on the planet Earth. And it is aligned with this, the SDG goal of 4, which is to deal with quality education. So we are looking at basically increasing action that reduces consumption. That is what Bill was also mentioning, that how we can do away with things, do away with material, and find loops which are closer and smaller, where less recycling and less material is used. Then also looking at action that can support resilience of our system, which is basically supporting the SDG 14 and 15, which is related to life on Earth and life underwater. Also, the third the goal, objective of this program is how we can take action for waste minimization, which is to do with the sustainable cities as SDG 11 and sustainable consumption and production SDG 12. And then taking as consumer action to support sustainable products and services as part of sustainable consumption and production sustainable development goal 12. And then the most important is that after we learn that, how do we increase awareness of others, and especially students, but other communities, that the students can engage as part of civic engagement. I just wanted to remind that through this education process of we are trying to use as a transformation from linear to circular economy by using principles to strengthen the awareness and action among students who are also a consumer, and then using school as a lab or a place where those actions can be demonstrated. So we are seeing a transition from linear to mostly now recycling economy, where many of the products can be recycled. We have different bins for collecting different material, which is then sent for recycling in different ways. Somewhere it is material which is recycled, somewhere it is the embedded energy in the material which is recycled. And ultimately, the vision is to go towards circular economy. We are in a mostly, I would say, in the phase of moving towards recycling economy or doing better than the recycling economy. And we are looking at how education can help drive this transition. And to do this, we have to focus on the four elements of environmental literacy, which is knowledge, the competency, disposition. Ultimately, all these three together translates into a transformative process, which is seen as behaviors and actions. And for that, we have developed material assessment tools and then experiences that we give children through the 7-step process. And the idea is that we are talking about is basically creating the need to stimulate without prescribing, basically giving that experience to the students and children. So the entire education program is on around this chart that you see on the screen, where we are trying to see that how the first important step is that how we can refuse and reduce things out of as a behavior and as an educational outcome. And this can be done as a consumer, but also as producer, that how can we shift from and stop or saying refusing things that we do not need or that cannot be recycled, or also basically reduce consumption of resources like water. So we are that's the most important action that is that we feel will help advance circular economy. Second step, which is if we are not able to refuse and reduce, as we know that some of the materials are essential and there are no alternatives available, then reuse by repairing, refurbishing, and increasingly repurposing things. Because the culture of waste using and then getting bored with material or the obsolescence we talked about, Judy mentioned, is one of the question, is an important element, and we need to see that how do we buy things which are easily repairable, which can be refurbished. And then sharing and borrowing or renting is an excellent idea of, and the ownership of the product for the period that we need is an important. For the example, the complete economy around shared taxis or shared cars, because most of the time the car is standing without being used around 20-22 hours during a day, and we only use it for 3 to 4 hours. So can we start renting a car instead of owning a car, so which will reduce the amount of material that is used and will increase the usage of that product. The third element, if we are not able to refuse and reduce and reuse, we are trying to promote that, okay, we try to recycle and recover. As we move from recycle and recover to refuse and reduce as an action component out of the educational process, we are moving from a linear economy to circular economy. So based on what Bill has, Bill talked about the concept of circular economy, and what we are trying to do as part of the EcoSchool project, Advancing Circular Economy. What do you think, like in terms of the importance of following principles for circular economy? Yes, we have 1 response, 3 responses. Mostly everybody is agreeing to the extreme, but separating the biological is getting reduced to a certain extent.
And
Excellent.
Pramod, we have a couple of questions whenever you want to take a pause. We have some good ones.
I can take a question now until like while people are putting in.
Melissa, do you want to ask one of the wonderful questions that have come in?
Sure. Here is one. So is in the circular economy, is growth still measured in GDP, or are there other markers for consideration? And this is for you or for Bill. GDP seems outdated and contrary in the context of sustainability.
Yes, a lot of discussion is happening on that issue of that whether GDP is a good marker of progress or development, because it is trying to maximize. And when we are talking about sustainability, the other element that comes is that how do you optimize the balance between consumption, but also the resilience of our earth system and ecosystem. And the marker, one of the big criticism is that it cannot be a continued growth. We cannot, until if we undermine the natural resources on which the entire economic model or consumption systems are based on. Bill, you want to add anything on this?
Sure. In fact, I'm just putting in the chat. Bhutan has a gross national happiness index,
Yes.
which kind of gets to that point, and I'll put the link in there too. But you're exactly right. So again, it's a great question. Why do we have a GDP? Whose interest does that serve, and does that really get to the meaning of life and why we have this existence?
Thank you. So the material that has been produced is a set of lesson plans around those 7 steps, where we, through those 7 lesson plans, we take children through understanding life cycle of a product, how does a product is produced, and so that they understand that there is there are steps involved where we have extract something from nature, or and then produce it in some factory, then it is transported and then is brought, and then many elements and materials are added to make a product out of us, which is usable for us. Then we move into a step that a classification activity of different products, and then understanding that if a product is sustainable, what are the kind of principles it is using, and those principles then ultimately support the concept of circular economy. And then we have introduced children to different case studies, which are to cloth renting, to a fair phone, which is a modular phone, where every part which can be replaced when it's not working. Then taking them to the natural system from where the inspiration of circular economy is taken, where everything is recycled in nature, nothing is waste. And then taking into the concept of impacts of production and environment. And then we encourage children to look at the school's product consumption systems, the cafeteria, the paper usage, or water usage, energy usage, and then discuss and prepare an action plan what we can do to increase circularity in a school. How can we make our school a circular economy compliance school? And then they design a solution and implement those solutions. And based on that, then they come out with eco code and a charter which is then again reviewed every year. And this cycle continues at different age groups every year. And then there are events and competition. So for one example that we can look at is that a simple example of economy of paper. Instead of buying books every year, we can have a library or set of books which can be rented, or which can be shared or passed on to the next cycle. We can use different alternative material, recycled paper to produce paper. And then like Lucat is doing the hygiene products, that it's separate, it takes the packaging waste, separates paper and metal, and then from paper it makes the hygiene paper, and from the metal it makes the box, or the plastic it makes the box, and then put together that as a dispenser. So some of the questions that help, basically example with the paper is that how, which can be asked for any material when we are looking at determining the circularity, and how to what extent it complies with the concept of, or the principles of economy. Is that, for example, if we are looking at paper as a product, that paper produced made of recycled paper, where can we reduce or eliminate use of paper? Bill talked about virtualization. Can we remove the papers in some of the system, for example, examination and all those things? Do the products have sustainability labels, like FSC label is there for paper, which basically certifies that it comes from a sustainable resource source? Then what is done with the used books? When we use the paper, what is whether the books are passed on to the next batch, or it is just thrown or into the bin? And then how we can reuse the paper, or we can recycle the paper if we are not able to. Remember, ultimately we have to refuse, then basically reduce, and then recycle. So we have to follow that order to increase circularity in our systems. So based on the discussion and 2 presentation, which are the 2 actions that you think or handprint action you will take? So one handprint action that you will take to support circular economy or advance circular economy.
And Pramod
Yes.
and Bill, we have a number of questions also, so keep going. This is great.
So you can, I think, ask Judy the questions.
Okay.
Either people, when they are voting, we can get them.
Well, one of the questions, and Bill put in the chat, and I hope everyone saw it, is that somebody, I'm trying to remember who asked this, which countries are the best role models? And somebody also asked, are there opportunities for young people to be interns? And we just had a question from John, who wanted to know about how do you get multinationals to buy into this, given that government is key. So 3 questions there. Because they're multinationals, their performance is measured by profit and output.
Bill, you would like to take the question on the country?
Sure. So again, the interesting thing is that at both ends of the spectrum of development, that's where we find the circular economy. So very advanced societies for that, whoa, we made a lot of mistakes. Let's do things right. And we have technology, we have sensors, we have abilities to understand the state of our devices and when they're going to fail, and we can make them modular and replaceable. And so at the very advanced level, you have circular economy, coming into form. But actually at the very opposite side of very constrained economies and people who are closer to nature and to arguably the meaning of life, that there's circularity there. We get lost in kind of the middle. And there's a question I saw like, well, do you have to pass through the wasteful linear economy model to get to circular? The answer is no. Just like in communications, most emerging market countries went straight to a categorically superior form of communications, mobile phones, rather than, why would anybody want to have a landline? That just seems kind of silly, and the infrastructure it takes to make that to happen. So getting to the question about multinationals, and there's also a question related to that I saw in the chat. One of the things I was going to say in a kind of a funny way is to turn the famous expression from President Kennedy upside down and say, ask not what you can do for the circular economy, ask what the circular economy can do for you. And this is how I like to say, one for you folks as educators, like, hey, I believe in the circular economy, it's great as content, but I think in the first moment, as you as educators, it's great for your process to think, to help teach design thinking, systems thinking, and so forth. The same thing for the big business people of the world. It's like, hey, I'm not asking you to save the world or do recycling or anything like that. I want to help you make more money. You're going to make more margin, just like that in the motor oil story. You're going to make more money, more margin, more profit by being able to close the loop on the physical part of things. And in some cases, you need to be a little more clever. You need to redesign things and make them modular, make them upgradable. design them in the first place for multiple uses, multiple use cases, like transportation. You know, our whole thing is like how to get cars kind of cheaper so everybody can have a car. It's like, no, do people really want to have cars, or do they want to have transportation? If you're in LA, maybe you think yourself, you identify with your car. But for most of the world, it's like, no, I want transportation services. So if we design for transportation services, that is a whole different question. We end up with a different product. And that product is going to reduce material impacts, energy impacts, environmental impacts in general, and it's going to make, you know, somebody more money. But for those companies that are still invested in the linear economy, you know, they're going to suffer. So there are going to be dislocations from going from linear to circular, and that's something that we do have to take into account.
Yeah, just want to add also my experience is that in Europe, yes, one of the comments is Europe is way ahead of the US, yes, in many ways, but I think word of caution is also is that we are transferring, and Europe also transferring the problem to some other place in form of transferring the waste or transferring the emissions to some other country. So we have to also see that there is an element of greenwashing that happens, and you see at the user end, you see that there is no problem, but at the production end or where waste or output is handled. And for that reason, economy also, because it addresses the problem at its where it is produced, so and tries to bring in that element. The other question about internship, yes, I think at both at NAAE and at FEE, we provide a lot of opportunities for young people to work with us from a duration of 1 month to a year, or any other kind of research that you would like to do, and young people would like to do on education. We will be happy to welcome you and provide access to our school and other systems to collect your data, analyze the data, because it will add to our values, wisdom that we have about the programs. And we are also building that element of research within this program, and we will be shortly producing the status of what we found amongst children and students as the baseline level. Judy, another question?
Yes, we do. I'm going to turn it over to Anne, but these are just great takeaways from the webinar. I think we could go on for hours. So Anne, take it away.
I'm loving these takeaways too. Just want to mention a couple of things. Bridget mentioned that some of these concepts of circular economy requires a big mindset change. And also Lynn is asking in your work, Bill, with corporations, if you have any idea how fast these corporations are getting educated in some of these practices, and how it might be kind of difficult to think about all the change that has to happen and sort of the immediacy of these needs. Can you comment on that?
Sure. So again, if you say this is about making money, then they get aligned, you know, more quickly. But even then, it does kind of challenge their mental models of their business. And the reason why they were successful is because they followed a different model. And so sometimes you just have to disrupt what they're doing. It could be an internal disruption, or it could be an external disruption. So you have a new company, a startup, or another company says, aha, I see the value proposition here, I'm going to act on that. And that happens all the time, of course, where you have new companies coming in, and old companies either, you know, get with the new program and thrive, or, you know, get killed off like the dinosaurs.
And I would like to add one element. I think, yes, mindset change is required, but at both the production and consumption level, the companies have to change how they look at it. But then the reality is that companies change when the consumers demand, and they change very fast. So as consumer also, to what extent we are using, like the way the example of paper is in terms of to what extent we are using the criteria of sustainability or principles of circularity to make our purchases, and are we ready to go for that kind of change that is required from the current consumer mindset, which values a certain product in certain way. And so it requires a lot of change in attitude and values. For that reason, we are doing a year-long process through the 7-step process. It cannot just get transformed through information on knowledge. And we all educator is a long process that we need to continue but influence consumerism and also civic action, and then drive the change that is required. But there are companies which are making the change, but I was sharing with Bill and other people also, is that the comment from the CEO of sustainability from Coke, that we will continue to produce plastic water because consumers want it. So just putting the onus on the consumer, then as consumer, then how do we respond to it and make or drive that change?
Well, we're going to stay on for another few minutes, but Anne, I wondered if you want to wrap it up for those who have to leave, and then we'll stay on and answer. There's still several questions that have come in, and you can be thinking about it, including how to influence multinationals. Somebody else was asking about what can we do as educators to help create a mindset that you look for companies and help influence companies to think about the circular economy. So be thinking about that. And Anne, do you want to, kind of do the wrap up, and then we'll stay on and answer questions. But thank you both so much.
So just really quickly, I wanted to let you all know, especially folks that might be new to our monthly webinar series, is that you can go to our website, NAAWE.org, eePro, and you can check out our entire archive of past webinars. You can see the recordings, the notes, everything. So it's quite a compilation right now. And lots of folks have been asking, can I get the chat? Can I get the slides? Can I get the recording? And the answer to all those questions is yes. We will be sharing all of those things on the eePro page, the same page you used when you registered for this webinar. So look out for that by the end of the week. If you do want the recording sooner, you can check it out. If you are logged into our YouTube channel, or if you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, you'll also see it there. One other thing I want to mention that we're going to try for this webinar that we're trying new is that we've opened up a discussion section about this webinar. So if you're thinking about this webinar later on today, later on in the week, and more questions pop up for you, feel free to log into your eePro account, which is free, and you can post your questions here, and Pramod and Bill are going to come back and help continue on the conversation. So thank you, Pramod and Bill, for doing that. I want to let you all know of this wonderful webinar series that we've got coming up for the month of August. And this is a topic that so many of you are saying is really important to you, especially now. And that is, how do you navigate difficult conversations? So we will be joined by Mary Ellen Daniels, who is this incredible educator and educator trainer that's going to help us think about this. We've got a part 1 and a part 2 where we'll be digging deeper into some of these concepts about, how do you ask the right questions and prompts? Or what are some of the right strategies you need depending on what your learning outcomes are? And really, how do you just navigate difficult conversations, just not in your professional work, but also maybe some of your private work as well. So please join us, set your calendars, August 6th and August 20th. You can register for these webinars now. And this is part of our webinar series that we are doing in collaboration with the U.S. Forest Service as part of our EE Inspire webinar series. And that's all that I have. So if we want to take the next 10 minutes or so until 15 past the hour to get into some of those questions, now is a good time to do that.
Thank you, Anne, and thanks, Bill and Pramod. One of the questions that came up, and then Melissa, I'll go to you next, is how can this pandemic help influence how we might change from a more linear to a more circular economy? Are there opportunities here? Thank you, Lynn, for that question.
So I'm happy to respond. Absolutely, yes. Huge. And my metaphor is that we've created this beautiful vase in this linear economy, and we just dropped it. So it shattered on the floor, and now we have to create a mosaic. So we have to kind of pick up the pieces and rearrange them in a way that is meaningful. And so it's very interesting that in this crisis, and there are two aspects that I'll bring up. So the economic crisis, this is a huge opportunity for the circular economy to say when we can save money. I'm working with a very large truck manufacturer right now, and their whole business is they make and they sell trucks. That's what they've always done. And a lot of their customers are like, we don't have money to buy trucks. So that is a huge issue for them. And it's like, well, maybe we can sell the services of the truck, because the trucks are providing transportation services. And so we can have a model where their customer base can afford it, and they're actually going to make more money. But there are a number of implications. Certainly, there's a business model, big implication in the beginning, and there are design aspects of that as well. The second thing of the pandemic, which makes circular economy very challenging, is the fact of that we're dealing with a virus, that nobody wants to touch things that other people have touched. So that is actually a huge challenge, and it's kind of put the brakes on a lot of circular economy things. But again, that can be overcome with design thinking.
And I just would like to add two other things. There is, for example, in Europe, at least, the countries are talking about green growth, and some of the example, like one of the example trucks been mentioned, but then a government, the new money that is going into recovery is for the green or the sustainability growth kind of mindset. And 2 days ago, I was with the minister from European Parliament, and she categorically said, no money will go to any unstable recovery. We will be prioritizing and seeing that every dollar that or euro we spend here in Europe, it goes to green recovery kind of. Second, what we also learned, because we then engage with parents and other people during this pandemic crisis, and we ran a campaign like Eco Schools at Home for 4 months. And one of the realization is we also got a feedback that people reflected on their consumption, because they were sitting at home, they were looking at their bins flowing in, like getting filled in kind of thing. And they were also looking at reflecting on, okay, what things they can do without, and what are the things that they don't really need and really can really eliminate from their consumption pattern. So a lot of reflection and realization also has happened among the people who were sitting at home for 2 months, 3 months, and this is one of the feedback that we got from that campaign.
Actually, fun fact is that Levi Strauss has noted that the sales of pants have gone down a lot with Zoom meetings.
So that's great.
So Melissa.
Yeah, so this, I think we asked this earlier. I'm not sure if we covered it yet, which is, and it's come up a few times, are there any companies that you just think of as really great role models that are really demonstrating how the circular economy can work? And also on the flip side, someone asked about, is there a risk that some companies might use circular economy as sort of a greenwashing tool to say, oh, we're all into this, but they're not really doing it? And how can you kind of tell the difference? Good questions.
Yeah, great questions. And I would say that we're not quite at the greenwashing stage.
Right.
One is that people are still trying to understand this, and where you do get greenwashing stuff is where you've had it before in like recycling. It's like, oh, X% of recycled content. Well, a lot of times that's the easy stuff, because it's like within the manufacturing process where everything's nice and clean. It's not post-consumer, and so there are issues like that, and that also apply to circular economy. I'm working on ocean plastics right now in Southeast Asia, and it gets back to some of the questions we had in the chat. Is that in emerging markets we have this interesting combination of going into this hyper consumerism and including consumer products, be they fast moving consumer goods like food, and with all the plastic wrapping that goes into that, or we also still have good sustainable circular practices that happen in emerging markets, so that they're living both of those lives at the same time. Unfortunately, the shift is going into the more of the high consumption model, which is kind of, you know, the glamour of the West, and the power of marketing and the power of multinationals. So if we can turn that around and have the multinationals be, you know, channels for positive change, and say, hey, we can provide you that food, that experience, that whatever, in a different way. So it's more affordable, and we are meeting, you know, bottom of the pyramid needs and improving people's quality of life. Hooray. They're also making money, arguably even more money. So everybody can win, but it does require design thinking. And it does require, you know, the hard thinking and questioning our existing mental models. And that can be a barrier, but it is something that is necessary to do. And again, as educators, is fun and delightful to do with your students.
So we're wrapping up. That's great, Bill. Thank you, Pramod and Bill. Any final thoughts before we wrap up? And Anne and Melissa, thank you so much. Pramod, you want to go first? Because I know you have to catch a train, and then Bill.
Thank you, Julie. It was a wonderful experience. Just want to address ultimately that there are two coins. There is a production coin, which is where Bill is talking about design thinking and how do we, because 80% of the decision about sustainability is taken at the design stage. So that's one important element that need to be influenced. But then there is an important role of consumers to force in the corporates to make that change. One of the examples, we work with the Toyota Europe and they support us in one of the projects under the Learning About Forest. And the person there clearly said that we are seeing a shift from ownership to renting. And we have to make cars which are sturdy, last long, and basically will be used as taxis, not as personal cars. So that transition is visible and companies are responding to it. So as consumers, we can drive that. And I think an educational process, I think we need to empower our children to be responsible consumers.
Thanks, Pramod. And thank you so much for all you're doing with FEE and for education in general to create this change. And Bill, final thoughts.
Yeah, I just think it's just a great way to look at the world and a fantastic opportunity for educators to help students question, you know, their reality and be real critical thinkers.
Well, we're going to change the world. Thank you both. Thanks everybody for joining and for sticking in. And we've got Dustin and others have asked some really good questions, and we'll continue the conversation, as Anne said, and everybody will get a copy of everything. Thank you all so much. Have a great rest of the day or night, Pramod, and everybody that's very late. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.